Hi there and welcome to episode 7 of the Made by Jo Crafty Podcast. My name is Jo, I'm a knitter, sewer and crocheter based in Fife in Scotland, and also welcome to the first video of 2024. The lovely Rebecca from the Crabea commented or mentioned me in her podcast just before Christmas, so I have had a lot of new faces come and join me, so it's lovely to have you and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Today we have quite a few finished objects, which is fab because the last few episodes have been whip heavy. We have a couple of whips, one of each of my crafts actually, a knit, a sew and a crochet, and then we've got a little pile of acquisitions to show you, mainly from things that I got as gifts at Christmas time. So I guess we'll just jump straight into it. I have a little bit of a time deadline today, so we are just going to try and be short and snappy and to the point instead of my usual rambling episodes. So we will start with what I am wearing, which is also my first finished object. I sat last night and decided you're wearing this in the podcast tomorrow, so you have to weave in all the ends because it's been sitting drying on the blocking mats for the longest time. This is my Urus Sweater by Igo Knit. It is a masterpiece. I will insert a little clip of me wearing it now that it is blocked and finished. I think it's absolutely stunning. I've been working on this for such a long time. I can't quite remember when I started it. I want to say October time. If I'm wrong, I will insert it, but I want to say October time. And this is a unique jumper. It is cast on at the sleeve with a tubular cast on. You then work the sleeve, you do like cast on extra stitches for the body, you work it flat and then you decrease again and work the second sleeve, which is why the cables are sideways instead of vertical. This jumper is made with Noro Madara in the colour Yen. I've spoken loads about this over the last few episodes of the podcast, so I'm not going to talk too much about it today. I do just want to say, now that it has a neck and all the ends are woven in and it's been blocked, it fits gloriously, I think. It's perfectly oversized, the sleeves are a great sort of cozy length for the type of jumper that this is. But like I say, this is the first day that I'm actually getting to wear it because I finally wove in all of the ends last night. So we'll see how this wears over time and how much wear it gets, but first day on, I'm absolutely loving it. I do have it with a long sleeve t-shirt on today to see how I get on. At the moment, I would say I can feel the yarn on my neck, but not so much that I'm like wanting to scratch at my neck. So we'll see how I get on over the next couple of hours, and then I can report back in the next podcast if I'm really struggling with the yarn or if I'm loving it. But right now I'm loving it, it's cozy, it's bringing me so much joy to finally see it on, and yeah, this is my first finished object. Now we're going to go back in time a fraction for my next finished object to December because I got a lot of knitting done over the Christmas period. I had some additional holiday days that I hadn't taken at the end of last year, so I had to take them in December, and I just thought I'd tack them onto my already planned Christmas holiday, so I ended up with 3 weeks off, which meant that I did have a lot of knitting time. And the first thing I finished was a whip in the last episode is my Christmas socks. These are the Twizzler not Christmas socks, these are the Twizzler sock pattern, and it's just, I'll show you up close, a slip stitch design along the foot, and then it continues, along the leg, and then it continues down the foot, and then obviously it's stockinette on the sole. I did a slip stitch heel flap and gusset for this one. I have now decided that the slip stitch heel flap and gusset is the best fit for my foot. Having this one and another one that I'm going to show you, I absolutely love it. I had never done this before, I'd done it one time before in the socks I'm going to show you in a minute, and I'd knit my boyfriend a pair like this, but I had always done the Fish Lips Kiss heel. I had taught myself that the very first time I ever knit socks, and that was just what I did. But I'm now noticing that this fits my foot much better. and I'm loving it. The other thing I did on this was I did an anatomically correct toe. Apologies for saying it like that, but I did have to Google it before this because I couldn't work out if how to say anatomical and get it right. So an anatomically correct toe on these, which means that the decreases slope much more on one side, and then you do a little decrease at the top, basically when you get to your biggest 3 toes. Now, this is the first time that I had done this on this pair of socks, and I am obsessed with it. I can't see myself doing it any other way. When I tried on the second pair that I'll show you in a little while with normal wedge toe, I didn't love them half as much as I love the toe on this. So I will be doing an anatomically correct toe from now on, I think. Super comfortable, and there was a tutorial, and there's a Ravelry project page, but there's a tutorial on YouTube, and it just had the instructions in the description, and that's just what I used to get this done. So there is a pattern if you wanted it on Ravelry, but I just took it from YouTube, and that's what I'll be doing from now on. This yarn, the pink, which looks a little bit dirty, but the pink is Filicolana Arvetta, and I've got it on the toe and also a pop of colour on the top, which I'm also really loving. I was talking to my friend Rebecca, who is Moving Stitches on YouTube, and she was talking about not having enough yarn left to finish a lento for her friend, and I suggested that a little pop of colour on the cuff of a jumper, like for her she ran out of yarn, so just the last 3 rows or so, kind of similar to what this is, would be stunning. And I think the next time I cast on a jumper, I'm trying to think of what jumper I want to cast on next that it might work for. But if you were just doing a sort of plain stockinette jumper, having a tiny pop of colour on the end of the cuff might be quite nice. But anyway, obsessed with it in socks. So that is Filicolana Arvetta. And then the main colour is Bird Street Yarns, I'm the Gingerbread Man. I've knit both of these. So the last time you saw them, I was on the foot of the first one, and I have now knit both of them. And I think I finished them just before Christmas, I want to say. I want to say the 23rd of December. And I got to wear them at Christmas time, and I loved them. And I've still got loads of this left. I think it's actually downstairs, but I've still got loads of this main colour left, so I might make a pair of shorties with them, or a pair of fingerless mitts, depending on how much yarn I've got left, because I think a matching pair of fingerless mitts in a gingerbread style pattern would be gorgeous. The Twizzler pattern was really straightforward and simple to do. I'm quite glad that I did a pattern on it, because I felt like it was exciting enough. You do sort of the slip stitches every 3 rows, and that meant that I was always wanting to get to the next slip stitch, and it just meant they flew by. Whereas I've been finding stockinette socks, I can quite easily just put down and forget about them, and it's not quite potato chippy or pringly is how I would describe it. So I was obsessed with this pattern, and I think they look awesome. The little toes look funny on the sock blockers, because they're obviously not even at the bottom, but I just think they're gorgeous, and I'm really, really pleased with how these are. So that is my first finished object, and I finished them in December. My next finished object is another nice and small one. For those of you that have watched the previous episodes, this had been on my needles for a very long time, and then I have 2 gift knits, which I'll show you again today, that were taking up so much of my knitting time that I knew I wanted to sort of get quite a few things finished, so I decided to work on some smaller patterns, and this is one of those. So this is the World's Simplest Mittens pattern by Tin Can Knits, and I think I knit the adult small size. Now this is a free pattern on YouTube. My mum has made several pairs of these after I showed her, not on YouTube, on Ravelry, sorry. My mum's made several pairs of these since I showed her the pattern. I have now made this pair and would happily make another pair. These mittens I knit up in less than 24 hours when I was down at my mum's house and we were watching TV together, and I would happily make them as gifts for other people or make myself some more pairs, because I've had these in my jacket pocket or in my handbag every single day since I made them. This is made in baubles and Badger yarn. The colour is called Avalon, and I want to say it's their chunky merino singles. It's 100% merino wool, and I bought it at the Scottish Yarn Festival this year after talking to Emma. Now, I believe her name is Emma. Emma, if it's not Emma, I'm so sorry. But we were talking on Instagram afterwards just about how lovely this yarn is. And I would love to make some stuff with her yarn again in the future. I have a sweater's quantity of her yarn to make myself what I believe will either be a Monday sweater or an October sweater by Petite Knit, but that's a future project. But I would happily repurchase this yarn. I did use almost all of the 100 gram skein. I think I've got a tiny nugget left, but it was good that I got a pair of mittens out of one ball, and a really gorgeous pair at that. They are super soft. Actually, I'll put one on. They are super duper soft, which I really love. I think if I was to do them again and I wasn't playing Yarn Chicken, I would make the fingers fractionally longer for me, because like my top of my finger is touching the top, and I would also make the ribbing a little bit longer. I shortened the ribbing from 3 inches to 2 inches, I think, or 3 inches to 2.5 inches, because again I was worried about Yarn Chicken. But I would make them longer in the future, just because like with this jumper it's not bad, but with my coat stops sort of here and then my arm is out basically. So if I was to do it in the future, I would add a tiny bit to the fingers and add a tiny bit of ribbing to the arm. But otherwise, these are gorgeous. I think they look amazing. I really want to wear them all the time, but equally, like walking my dog, I don't want to be picking up his gross ball to throw it. So I am precious about these because I think they're so gorgeous, but you knit to wear things, you knit to use your finished objects. So that is my third finished object of the episode. And I've still got 2 more. This is absolutely wild. They are, other than this, everything I've finished so far is an accessory, so that is probably why it feels like I've got so much done. Now, my 4th finished object then is another accessory, and it is my Musselburgh hat. Now, this has been on the needles for such a long time. I started this Musselburgh at the same time as my mum, and we were going to do it as a knit along together, and she has finished 2. I think she's working on her 3rd one in the time it took me to finish this one. This is knit in Amo Yarns Avada Kedavra in their sock yarn. The colours are absolutely beautiful, and it's for my boyfriend Angus. Now, I had a couple of issues with this hat. Firstly, that if I take down the brim, there was a lot of colour pulling. Like you can see the big spiral of, it's more obvious on this side, you can see the big spiral of colours there. So I decided to do helical knitting and alternate my skeins. Now, I don't think I knew what I was doing, and I really didn't get the hang of it until almost right at the end. So there is a line here. If I hold it like this, you'll be able to see. There is a line down the middle there that shows you where I was alternating skeins, and to be honest, it bothers me a little bit. I've not blocked this hat because my boyfriend has had it on his head almost every single day since, well, not every single day since I made it, every single day since about a week after I made it. So it's not been easy to get on the blocking mat, and I have forgotten to do it this weekend while he's away. So I'll have to find another time to do it. But he doesn't even notice it, it doesn't bother him, it's not something that he is worried about, and he really loves it. Now, this is the Musselburgh, I don't know if I actually said by who, by Isolde Teague. It's the 2nd time I've made a Musselburgh. The Musselburgh is knit like a sausage, big sausage, and then you fold one half of the hat inside the other half, and then just do a little bit of moulding. And then you just fold up the brim, and it gives you a lovely beanie. Ta-da! So yeah, like I say, made from Amo Yarns. I worked on it for a very long time. It's quite good as commute knitting or TV knitting because it is just, once you've done the crown increases, which you can do in one sitting, you're just working on a giant tube for about 18 inches, depending on your size. So for ages you're just knitting a big tube of stockinette, and then you do your crown decreases again. And it is really easy and simple. It just took me a long time because I had other things to prioritise and I didn't get around to finishing it. But now it's done. I'm really pleased with it. I will also be stealing it because Angus and I can wear the same size hat, and it's the perfect dog walking hat if you ask me. So this is my 4th finished object of the needles. I knit mine because it was sock yarn on 2.5mm needles, I think, or 2.75mm needles. So that's also why it took so long, because it's like an extended sock project. Just had to take a pause because my mum phoned me about a knitting question, so apologies about that. But yeah, that is my 4th finished object, my muscle Bur hat. Really, really pleased with it. And then my 5th finished object, which feels absolutely crazy to say, but when you think about it, over the holidays I had a few days before my partner was off that I could just knit most of the day. Oh, gonna sneeze. Bless me. Bless me. I had a few days before my partner was off that I could knit most of the day. Then we had a busy couple of days at different family events for the holidays, and then between Christmas and New Year we had a lot of time to just relax in the house and be chilled in our relatively new home for our first festive period in the new house. So almost all of my knitting was done during that time. And in this last week, while I've been back at work, I have not made nearly as much progress as I did obviously last week when I wasn't working. So I'm just giving that caveat there because I've actually seen a lot of people doing their what I made in 2023 videos, and they're all sort of starting them off with the caveat that this is what they do, they content create, and this is what they do for fun and spend all their time doing. And I find that both like sensible to do, but also a bit frustrating that we have to do that, or that people feel that they have to do that. For me, I knit. I love knitting. It's my hobby. And actually it's probably at the moment one of my only hobbies, knitting and sewing. So I'm not spending hours going to the gym every day or that sort of thing, and I'm in the lucky position that right now I don't have any children or anything. So once I finish work and Angus and I have dinner, we really don't have anything else that we do in the evening. We watch TV together, we'll maybe play a game together some evenings, but most nights I get to knit while we're watching a movie or while he's playing Xbox or whatever it is. So part of me wants to disclaim this by saying I know it's a lot, but this is what I do with my time. And another part of me is like, well, actually, I don't see why. I want to challenge the way that we all feel like we need to compare ourselves to other people. And I want to challenge that by saying, this is what I do, but nobody else should be ashamed of what they do. And I don't necessarily feel like I should have to justify what I do either. It's really complicated, and it's a weird internal thought that I'm having at the moment, where I understand why we want to justify how much we're knitting, but equally I totally feel like unless we start to challenge the sort of comparison culture that we've got going on by saying this is what I do and you shouldn't really feel the need to compare to me, then I'm not sure we're ever going to get away from the comparison culture. Now, I compare myself to people all the time, and this is kind of deep as well as related to knitting, but I compare myself to people all the time. I found myself at the end of 2023, when everyone was doing their what I achieved this year, I found myself really disconnecting from social media because I felt quite underwhelmed or quite overwhelmed by other people's sort of excitement and success. And I'm happy for everyone to have their success, but it really made me look at my year and think, well, what have you done? And have a really negative frame of mind, when in actual fact, I bought my house this year. Like, I'm sitting in the house that I bought with my partner this year, and that's huge. And that should be enough, and I should be really pleased with where I am, but I felt myself comparing myself to others. But to me, it's my responsibility to check my own behaviour and say, you don't need to compare yourself to that. It's not the responsibility of the other person, because they're not putting it out there or maybe some people are putting it out there to brag, but I believe that in the knitting community especially, nobody's putting anything out there to brag about the amazing productive year they've had. They just want to share their stuff and be genuine with what they've made. So I challenge myself to check myself and say I'm not comparing myself to this person, whatever or however much they've made is fabulous, but I'm not going to compare myself, and I hope that you guys will feel the same. So I basically just ranted about how I don't think we should compare ourselves while giving a justification as to why I have knit so much this year. So I don't know if I'll keep that in or not. I might get rid of it, but we'll see where it lands when I'm editing. But anyway, all of that to say that my 5th finished object of this episode is a long-standing whip. So the first week in January, I put up a poll on Instagram and I said, should I cast on something new or should I finish my whips? And unfortunately, all the people of Instagram said very sensibly, you should finish your whips. So I decided to do that, as you've probably seen throughout my finished objects so far. This was a whip that I managed to finish. My Musselburgh was a fairly long-term whip that I wanted to finish. And then these are as well. So this was a test knit that I did in October time for Oakwood Knits. I tested her Moose Tracks socks pattern, which is part of the Sunday sock set, I want to say, which is a set of patterns that she had tested all at the same time. I tested the adult small size, and I used Beehive Yarn's Pumpkin Spice sock set to do it. Now, I have shown you one of these, I couldn't tell you which one, but I've shown you one of these in the podcast before, and I just managed to do the second one. And it had been sitting in its bag, oh, I've got a runny nose there, sorry. It had been sitting in its bag for, well, since October time, waiting for a second sock, and I really wanted to cast on one of my new sock sets that I got for Christmas as part of my advents, but I decided I couldn't do that until I had finished all the socks that I had on the go, and that was these ones. So like I say, this is the Moose Tracks sock set. It is a sort of faux cable-ish pattern. It's made with knits and pearls, and it's really beautiful actually. It's got a heel flap and gusset as well, with this really nice detailing of the sort of row of knits, I guess, which I thought was really pretty. But this is the one I was saying, I did a wedge toe on this one because that's what I did on the first sock in October, and I tried this on after wearing my anatomically correct toes and I just found it wasn't as comfortable. So I will be doing anatomically correct toes moving forward. But these are stunning. I think I said in the first podcast I showed them in that they were slightly too small. This, because it was a test knit, I just followed the instructions exactly. I used a 2mm needle or a 2.25mm needle. It's on the project page on Ravelry. And I did a 56 stitch like round, which is smaller than I usually do on a smaller needle than I usually do. And I realised I should have changed one or the other, kept the needle size and done a smaller stitch count, or changed the needle size and kept the same stitch count, because these were a 56 stitch on a 2mm needle and these were a 60 stitch, I want to say, on a 2.25mm needle maybe. I can't remember, but these fit me perfectly. Again, this is on the Ravelry page. These fit me absolutely perfectly. These were too small. So I have been putting them on these sock blockers. Now, oh, that's Albie. Oh, bear with me, the door. Just a delivery driver. Sorry, where was I? Can't remember now. I was talking about these. Oh, my sock blockers. I got sock blockers, and I will talk about them just now, I guess, because I've shown you them so many times. From my mum for Christmas. I got 3 sets, so let me just get the other 2. Oh, they're in plastic, sorry. So these are the Knit Pro sock blockers in aqua or blue. So I have 3 sizes now. The first one here is the smallest one, which I think well, I can tell you the EU size is size 35 to 37.5. Size medium, which is the one I've got my socks on, is a 36 to 40, and the large is EU size 41 plus. Put them down so the plastic doesn't keep making loads of noise. But this is what they look like. And I got 3 sets in the 3 sizes. Now the medium one is my foot size. I'm a size 6, UK 6 or 6.5, which I believe is an EU 39 or 40. So I'm the middle bracket for this. Now I think these socks probably would have fit on the slightly smaller one, but I decided to pop them on these sock blockers in the hope that it would stretch them a fraction. And when I took them off to show my mum the other day to show her that I'd finished them, they did fit me better. So I definitely think that having them on the sock blocker has stretched them out a little bit, and hopefully they will fit me a bit better now, and I'll get some use out of them. So that is my finished, my last finished object of today, my Moose Tracks socks by Oakwood Knits. Oh, now I feel like I've flown through all of those, so let me, pop them all on the floor so they're out of the way. Reshuffle my legs. Oh, caught my cover. And we will talk a little bit about my whips. So I'll show you a crochet whip really quickly because it's nice and straightforward. It's in my lovely Loch Lomond bag that I have raved about before. And it's a really, really simple one. Again, I wanted something quick and easy that was going to satisfy my finished object need, although she says that knowing she's finished 5 things. But I also noticed when we moved into this house, I decided I wanted to be as sustainable as possible when it came to household items. And one of those things was sponges. People go through sponges like they're going out of fashion, which is totally understandable because they get gross and they have loads of bacteria in them and they're yucky, basically. So I decided when we moved in that we wouldn't buy sponges where possible. Now we have one dog sponge for Albie's bowls, but other than that we don't have any other sponges in the house. Instead we have cloths, little cloths that I made. Now I have made 4 of these, and I made them about the time we moved in. And I haven't made any since, but I've got quite a few skeins of the yarn that I used left in a variety of different colours that I just never got round to finishing, because after I'd made 4 I was a bit over them, to be honest. Now, one of the ones I made at the beginning of the year, we think got caught on a knife or a bit of our scissors when we were washing up one day because it started to unravel. So I'm trying to crochet up a new dishcloth in order to replace the one that's coming apart. So this ball band is ripped, I apologise, but this is the Knit Picks Dishy. I'll try and hold it together for you. The Knit Picks Dishy yarn, which is specifically made for making dishcloths and things like that. It is 100% cotton, and this one says that you can use, oh gosh, it says US size 7 to 8. I have no idea what size that is. A knitting needle or in Crochet Hook, size I to K. Now I don't know what size that is, but I am currently working it up on a 4.5mm crochet hook. And this is the colour that I'm working on. I don't know what the lighting is going to be like today. Today has been a fairly bright day so far with some sunshine, so I'm kind of hopeful that it will be relatively alright, but this is the blue colour that I picked randomly out of my stash to give a go. Let me just pull a loop so I'm not losing any. Come on. And this is the dishcloth as it is just now. Now this is a this pattern came from Lovecrafts. I quite literally just typed in free dishcloth pattern into the internet and it was the first one that came up. It's by Lovecrafts and it has 3 different options. I will put the name on the screen because I can't remember what it's called, but I'm just following one of the options and it's like a beautiful, I think it's called the cluster pattern, and I really like the way that it looks. I think it's got a little bit of interest to it, but it'll function as a dishcloth, and the stitch doesn't take very long to do at all, which is kind of the main thing for me. I don't want anything too intricate, I just want a dishcloth at the end of the day. So that I put on the crochet hook actually because I was going into the office on Tuesday this week. So today's Sunday, on Tuesday this week, and I wanted something to be able to do on the commute. I ended up actually getting a lift, so I didn't crochet very much on the commute at all. So this has just been sort of, if I've had nothing else that I wanted to work on, or I only had sort of 10 minutes or so at lunchtime, I would pick this up and work on it. So that is my only crochet project at the moment, and it's just a tiny little dishcloth in some Knit Picks Dishy yarn. I did have another crochet project that I spent 5 hours working on the other day, and it's a little teddy bear. I saw it on the Drops Instagram page and instantly fell in love with it, bought the pattern, found some yarn that my mum had in stash and started it. I made an arm and 2 legs, and then when I measured the legs against the schematic sizes, they were way too big and I wasn't going to have enough yarn to finish it. I think I was going to be tight even if I met gauge perfectly, and it was way too big, so I ripped it all out again. So it's not a whip, it's a nothing at the moment. The yarn is sitting, and it's kind of in the naughty corner because I spent 5 hours working on it and was really loving it, and then realised it was too big and just had to rip it all out. So I will continue to work on it. I'm going to make it for my nephew for his birthday, which is in March, so I know that I can get it done in a week if I put my mind to it, so I'm not pushed for time. So I'm going to give myself a few weeks to get over the sadness and then I will get back to it. So I only have that one crochet whip at the moment. And then I'll show you my knitting whips next before I show you what I spent most of yesterday working on. So I'll show you one that doesn't have much progress. I told you and showed you and spoke about it a lot in the last episode that I was gifting some jumpers to my mum and dad. And I finished I wanted to have them both in a vest style, completely finished, minus the zipper, to gift them on Christmas Day. And I got to that stage, so when I last showed you my mum's one, which is the one I'm showing you first, I was on the ribbing, and I finished the ribbing. So this is the zipper sweater by Petite Knit. I am knitting it off gauge because I picked a yarn that didn't make gauge. This is the Drops Extra Fine Merino. I have been using a pattern of a picture. I've been using a picture that my mum sent me of a jumper she saw in a shop that she liked, to roughly use that as inspiration to make this. The sheeps came from a Drops pattern called Sheep Happens, which is a cardigan, and I just took the chart from that to add the sheep on the bottom, and this is where we've ended up. So it's a bit of a Frankenstein's monster style mishmash of a bunch of different patterns, but so far so good. And this is just waiting for 2 sleeves. Now, because this is off gauge, I've got way more stitches than you would do if you'd picked the correct yarn. And I think that's putting me off doing the sleeves a little bit, if I'm honest, because I know they're going to take me a decent amount of time. So when I was trying to decide, when everyone said work on your whips first, Jo, I was trying to decide which of my 2 zipper sweaters to work on, and my dad's one, because I knew it would take me much less time. So this is going to be finished for the next episode. I can feel it in my bones, and I'm hopeful that I'll work on this in the next week or so to try and get it finished, because I've told myself until these 2 jumpers are done, I'm not allowed to cast on a jumper for myself, and I have such bad cast-onitis. It is really annoying. So that should motivate me to get this done. Although that does kind of explain why I've had so many sort of smaller whips, because I've kind of just been making any excuse to not work on this one, to be perfectly honest. So if I get it done, it's done, and then I don't have to worry about it. So that's what I need to tell myself, and I need to get moving on that. Okay, my next knitting whip is a little bit more successful. It is my dad's zipper sweater. So my dad's zipper sweater is the Zipper Sweater Man. It's got loads of ends sticking out of it. I apologise in advance. And last time you saw it would have been a fair few episodes ago when it was in vest format. It is now a fully fledged jumper with 2 full sleeves. So there is one and there is the other. 2 full sleeves with ribbing all done and complete. And I got my dad to try this on the other day and it fits him really well. He was talking about potentially looking for another few centimetres in the body, and I'm kind of hoping that I can block a couple centimetres in. Otherwise, I'm gonna detach the ribbing. I've seen Nitty Natty do it on her podcast before, where you sort of pick up all the stitches with your needle, then you cut and then pick up all the other stitches and then add a couple of rows of stockinette and then Kitchener them together. And I think that's what I'll do rather than ripping out all of the body ribbing, because it's quite it's a size large man's and that's too much effort. So I'll see if I can block it in. If I can't, I'll have to do some Frankensteining. But this is my zipper sweater man as it is now. Now I do have a zip for this one. I bought a zip from the Petite Knit website for this one a long time ago when I knew I would be doing it as a Christmas gift. So that is here and ready to go in, but I haven't knit the facing yet. The facing is the last thing that you do on the pattern, I think. So I've got that to do, and then once the facing is done and the zipper is in, it's just a case of sewing in all the ends. Because there is some areas, I don't know if you will have seen it when I held it up, that look like there's a little hole, but it's just where I've swapped from one ball to another. And I don't know why I didn't think about it in this yarn until the end, but I could have just split spliced the whole way through, but I didn't. So there is some bits that I need to go back and just make sure that they're all woven in and perfect and hide any gaps that are there. So this was my final knitting whip. This is what I've spent all of my knitting time on this week. I knit both of these sleeves in 1 week because the decreasing, it's every set amount of rows. So like I said with the socks, I was just constantly wanting to get to the next decrease and get to the next decrease. So I flew through the sleeves and they fit them really well. So I'm really pleased with this. And it's just the facing and the zipper to do. I have knit a zipper sweater before for my boyfriend and the zipper was tough, so I guess that's going to be the next hurdle to get over as well. I don't know whether I'll just knit the facing and then wait until my mum's one's done and do the 2 zippers together, or whether to get this one completely finished and then work on my mum's one. I haven't decided yet, but my parents were very pleased with their Christmas gifts. They didn't know they were getting them, so they were thrilled, and they didn't really mind that I hadn't done the sleeves. So there's no rush, neither of them are breathing down my neck to get these, but I just want to get them done so I can move on to a project for myself, if I'm honest. So that is my, like I say, second knitting whip. And my final whip for this episode is a sewing whip, and I have been working on this week. I spent Tuesday evening, I want to say, cutting out all of the pieces, and then I spent all day yesterday sewing. So I think I started at 10 o'clock and I finished at 5 p.m. sewing, and it's still not finished. So this is going to be a pink cord jumpsuit. The pattern is by Vogue and it's just over there. Let me get it 2 seconds and I will show you the pattern. So this is the pattern. It's by Vogue Patterns. It's V1719 and I am doing this version, the short sleeved version. Now this was entirely inspired by a sewer called MadebyJo on Instagram. She was on the Great British Sewing Bee. You might, oh, that was my foot. You might remember her if you watched the Great British Sewing Bee a couple years ago. And I was following her on Instagram, and in the springtime of last year, she made that exact jumpsuit in this colour, in this fabric, and I was instantly obsessed with it. I think it's absolutely glorious, and I knew that I would want it in my wardrobe, and I bought the fabric almost instantly, and it's been sitting in my fabric drawer for months waiting for me to have the courage to do it. And I knew that Angus would be away this weekend, and I thought the perfect time is when I can just sit down, I'm on my own in the house, I'll put some TV on in the background and I will just sew. So that is exactly what I did. and this is where I have got to. So I don't really know how to show you it, if I'm perfectly honest, because it's not finished yet. So there is some bits that are hanging out, but let me see if I can hold it up by the shoulders. Like I say, not finished, so please reserve judgment, but this is sort of the bodice section. So it's a collared jumpsuit with 2 zippered pockets on the boobs. There is zippered pockets on the legs, but I decided to change them for set-in pockets instead. And it's full length. I'm going to have to put a picture in or something as well. But it does have these set-in pockets. Now I've got a picture of me wearing this in its current state that I took last night, so I will insert that here so you can also see that. But I spent most of yesterday working on it. I wanted to work on it today, but I've got some other things that I need to get done, and Angus will be home about 6 o'clock, so I don't think I'll get time to sew on it today. But basically all it needs is sleeves and the hem done. I need to finish the collar, add the sleeves and do the hemming, and then you make a belt that goes alongside. So you'll be able to see from the picture, they've both got little belts, so you'll be able to, you make one of those basically. I don't have a belt buckle for it yet. I do have the little rivets, I think they're called, that go in for the belt holes, but I don't have a belt buckle. So when I go down to my mum and dad's later, my mum is going to let me have a look in her wardrobe and see if there's a belt she no longer uses that I could take the buckle from. So I've got the belt to do, finish the collar, add the sleeves, and then it's just sort of hemming and things, finishing touches, and that will be done. And I can't wait to wear it. I sent a picture to my parents and to my best friend last night, and both came back unprompted and said, that colour looks amazing on you. So I cannot wait to wear it. It's gonna really fuel my dopamine dressing for this year because I think it's so bright and beautiful that I cannot wait to put it on. I also follow a girl on Instagram, and she's a teacher in America, I think, and she wears the most amazing outfits. They're perfectly, like the perfect outfit to describe, dopamine dressing. And I saw her wearing a pink jumpsuit like this with a sweatshirt over the top of it. So she had the collar at the top of the sweatshirt and it was like tucked into the belt, and I just think that's going to be an amazing way to wear this as well when it's a bit colder. You can make the jumpsuit long sleeve, obviously, as you saw in the pattern, but I just decided that with this being the colour that it is, I'll probably want to wear it in springtime, and maybe in springtime I can wear it with a long sleeve top or with a sweatshirt over it, and then if I want to wear it in the summer I can wear it short sleeved. I thought a long sleeve version I maybe wouldn't wear as much, so we've gone for short sleeve, which is also what Annie did, and I just think it's going to look stunning. And this was my whole day yesterday, so I'm so excited about this, and I really wanted to work on it today, but I just haven't had time yet today, and I knew I wanted to get the podcast filmed while I was in the house by myself, so it would be nice and quiet and fairly calm, whereas usually it's dark and everything else at this time of year. So this has been yesterday's whip, and I'm in love with it. It is like because it's corduroy, it's like really soft, so I do just want to stroke it all the time. And I tried it on so many times yesterday to make sure that the fit was right, that it's been on and off my body like crazy the last 2 days. So this should be a finished object in the next episode too, and I might even wear it depending on how warm it is. But yeah, it's just amazing. So beautiful. And that takes me to the end of my whips, and I really don't have many acquisitions, so we are absolutely flying through today. Give me 2 seconds, I'm going to sort my acquisitions and make sure I've got them all here for you and easy to grab, and then I will be right back. Okie dokie. So we have a couple of yarn acquisitions, which I guess I will start with, and then we've got a few other things that I just got for Christmas time. Quite a few books actually that I would like to show you. So we will start with yarn. I was lucky enough to take part in the La Mercerie sock set swap at Christmas time, and I swapped with a lovely lady who lives in the Outer Hebrides in Scotland, and I decided to open my box on Christmas Day, so I didn't get to see the last the sock set until Christmas, and therefore it missed the last podcast. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time showing you it now. So this is by the Crafty Weaver, who is based in the Outer Hebrides, and she likes to base her yarn colours off of things that she sees like around her local area. So this was inspired by a sea urchin that she found. It's 4-ply, so it's 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon, and it's in 100-gram skein, and I was like in shock when I opened it. The sort of thing that I asked for in the sock swap was self-striping or something like that, but this barber pole yarn is something that I've been so interested in but never purchased before. I've obviously seen it in Spin Cycle and stuff like that, but I've never really known how it's going to knit up. So I was really overjoyed to have this in a box. It's definitely something that I can't wait to cast on. I think it's going to look awesome. But so far I've just had it in my little glass cabinet over there, just admiring it, because I don't really know. I want to get the right pattern. I don't know whether vanilla socks will do it justice or whether I want to do a pattern with it. So if any of you have any sock suggestions for a barber pole yarn, please let me know, because I don't know yet and I just think it's gorgeous. But this was my sock swap with Angie, so thank you very much, Angie, if you're watching. I just think it's amazing, so I'm really pleased with this one. And following along the same lines, actually all of my yarn is from advents or swaps that I've received. So I also did a scrappy advent swap with a lovely lady called Sharif from London as part of the Crea Bea's Scrappy Advent swap calendar. And we did the 12 minis swap. So we swapped 12 mini skeins, 10 grams of scrapped yarn to each other for every single day. And then we messaged each other afterwards and said, would you like to do like a 100-gram skein that we can open on the 25th? And Sharif said, yep, I would love to do that. And I was like, great. So I sent her some Kinross 4-ply, because I think anyone who hasn't tried Kinross 4-ply should, and it's quite a lovely Scottish yarn, so I decided to get her some of that to try. And Sharif, although she lives in London, is actually from Northern Ireland, so she got me some yarn from Northern Ireland. So this is by You Mama, and it says Coloricious hand-dyed yarn, which I absolutely love. And it's hand-dyed in Northern Ireland. So this is called the Daphne Ultimate Sock. It is 100 grams and it's 75% superwash blue-faced Leicester, 25% nylon. And it's this gorgeous blue colour. And it's got specks of orange and green and yellow in it. And it's got a little bit of like some lighter sections down here. But I just thought this was stunning. And a yarn brand I'd never heard of and never tried before. So I think it's going to make some awesome socks or a hat or something similar. The blue-faced Leicester is not a yarn I have tried in terms of sock yarn, and I have one up there on my yarn wall from Needle and Thread that I got at the Scottish Yarn Festival that's BFL that I haven't used yet either, but it feels really soft, like much softer than I expected BFL to feel like. I don't know why. Like I say, I've never used it before, so I don't have any sort of advanced thoughts about it or anything. I just thought BFL might be itchy, and it's really not. So although I won't be using it as something that goes on my neck, it's nice to know that that's something that I would be able to use in the future. So yeah, this was from Sharif. Thank you so much again for doing the Scrappy Advent swap with me, and this yarn, amazing, amazing. Another one I can't yet wait to cast on. And then I thought I would show you, because in my last episode I showed you the first 3 sock sets that I got as part of the Homespun House for Sundays of Advent calendar, that I would just show you the last one. So this one is simply called 4th Sunday of Advent, oh no, Window Frost. And this was the one I opened on Christmas Eve. And it's absolutely glorious, purple with speckles. I absolutely love speckled yarn, so I couldn't have asked really for more. And again, the mini skein has Stellina in it, which I'm really pleased with. I think it's gorgeous, and I think these are going to make some awesome socks as well. I said in the last episode that the Advent sock sets weren't overly or overtly Christmassy, and I think the same with this. I could wear these all year round without any hesitation, so I'm not in any rush to cast it on because I know I'm going to get a lot of use out of it. But I was overall so happy with this advent calendar. I think I'll get it again next year. I might even get the 24-day one, I haven't decided yet. But yeah, gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. And then my final sock set is the Christmas Day sock set from the Beehive Yarns advent calendar. I had the Beehive Yarns Patisserie advent calendar this year. I had the 24 mini skeins, and then I paid a little bit extra to get the sock set on Christmas Day. So I opened it, and it is called Patisserie, which is obviously the theme of the calendar. I think the colour of this mini skein, stunning, stunning, so pleased with it. And then obviously they're reflected, those colours are reflected in the main yarn as well. And I just think it's absolutely beautiful. And again, this is giving me like, the mini I could totally see giving you Christmas vibes, but together it's giving me like Valentine's Day vibe, definitely very patisserie vibe. So I might cast this one on in February time. Angus and I don't really do Valentine's Day. We will make each other a nice dinner, but we do that every night, and we might watch a movie together, but or get each other some flowers or something like that, but we really don't buy into Valentine's Day. But casting on a nice little pair of socks in a pink colour might be something nice to do in about February. So I was overjoyed when I opened this one. I just was shocked. It was absolutely stunning. So this is their Audrey sock, which is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon, and love it. And then the final little thing that's not a book, I said I would show you it when I worked out what it was. In the Patisserie Advent Calendar, I showed you there was a small box that had pinstripe pink and white stripes on it, and I was saying to you, it sounds like stitch markers, but I'm not sure if it will be stitch markers. And then I had a little bit of a worry about if it was a baked good and I hadn't opened it and would it be off. And I opened it up and it was this tiny little macaron. Now, I opened it at first and thought, is that a real macaron? And then I thought, surely you wouldn't put a macaron, which is like a nut product, in an advent calendar, because I said to myself, you weren't asked if you were allergic to nuts, so surely she wouldn't be able to do that, or she wouldn't choose to do that. And then I realised it is in fact a faux patisserie macaron. And then I thought, what on earth is it? Is it a rubber or something? But you open it up. Am I holding it the wrong way? I am indeed holding it upside down. You open it up like this, and it's a tiny little tub with stitch markers in it. So let me get one out. These are the tiny little, did I just drop one? Definitely just dropped one. These are the tiny little stitch markers that you would use maybe to mark out raglan. I really have dropped one on the floor. Oh, there it is. Found it. These are the type of stitch markers that you would maybe, see if you can see it, maybe put in a raglan or something like that. Obviously they don't have like a click to open, so you can't leave them in a project, but you could use them to mark out a raglan or something, which is what I have used them for. But yeah, glorious, so cute. And I'm really, really pleased that that was what was in the little box, and I'm really pleased I left it until the end of the calendar to open, because it was a nice little extra surprise to get on Christmas. So it now lives in my little mini mood pouch thing that I've got all my stitch markers in, and I just, every time I look at it, it brings me so much joy. So that's my little extra from my advent. And then the final acquisitions that I wanted to show you was actually some books that I got for Christmas. So one of these I asked for, two of these were surprises, and I got them for Christmas from a couple of different family members. I think this year everyone was like, she knits, we'll just get books about knitting, which I'm not mad about, although I now need to find somewhere to store them. So the first one I got is the one I asked for, and I got it from my mum and dad, and it's called Visible Creative Mending. I saw this on Instagram, and at first I thought it was just a workshop that you could like visit online, until I found out that it's also a book. So the basis of this book is that it teaches you ways to darn and mend your clothing that isn't the sole goal of it isn't to be invisible, which I think for someone who's not very good at darning is a good place to kind of start. And I also love the idea that we're back to mending clothes. I really want to be in a position to fix things rather than get rid of them and buy new things, and this book's really going to help me get there. So the book comes with a little kit. It comes with a little piece of knitted, a square of knitted fabric and a bunch of different coloured yarns to give a try before you would try it on your own garments. And I can't wait to give this a go. My colleague Ailey actually said that she and her flatmate are looking at starting a crafternoon, and one of the things they want to learn to do is darn. So I think I'll take this book along that day and we'll see if we can learn it as a wee group. Oh, sorry. It is by... Oh, actually, I don't know if it is. Yeah, it's by... So the lady's name is Flora Collingwood Norris, and I'm assuming this is her. And it says ethical Scottish knitwear and visible creative mending. All of my knitwear is designed and made in the Scottish borders using the finest natural fibres, which I just love. That's so cute. I didn't realise or appreciate that she was Scottish until right now, which is fab. But let me find one of the ones that I loved. So the book has like loads of different sections that tells you how to darn different things, how to fix buttons, the bases of embroidery, how to fix bits at the, like how to darn bits at the hem or the cuff. Like you see that picture there, that's about fixing your cuff if your cuff goes off, which I've seen on several jumpers in the past. Let's see, there's one particular little tartan bit that I wanted to show you. Yeah, so, oh dear. She shows you how to like make your darning look like tartan in rainbow colours, and I just think that that is amazing. So cute. So I can't wait to give this a go. I haven't yet because I have been busy doing other things, but one day I want to sit down. I think for me right now I don't have any jumpers that are holy. My mum did just phone me before I sat down to film to say that my sister has a hole in one of her jumpers, so maybe that is the perfect time to try out one of these after I've given it a go on the practice thing. But I love the idea of being able to fix my knitting. I think I have a base knowledge of how to fix my knitting, but this is a bit more extensive and you can use it to fix all types of clothing. So I'm really excited to give this a go. And I can't recommend it because I've not used it, but if it's something that you'd be interested in, I would recommend the kit and things that it comes with because I think it's adorable. The next book is one that I had never heard of, and I think this one came from my mum as well, I think. Can't remember. But it is called Cable Knits from Nordic Lands, and it looks like this. We have been trying to do second-hand books where possible, so this is one that came from a world, I think it's called World of Books Online, but it has so many patterns in it. I don't know if it says how many patterns. Let me see. Beautifully and oh, I don't know what that word is. Ingenuity? Beauty and ingenuity in over 20 unique patterns. And it has like so many different cable patterns. So from jumpers to hats to gloves to shawls to everything you could possibly imagine. It comes with the patterns themselves as well as charts and anything else that you could possibly need. My only thing about these sorts of books is traditionally they don't have a massive size range, so I'm looking at this one. Let me find a jumper because these are all cowls and stuff. And I was just looking at a jumper. Come on, boop 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 boop. That's a shawl. So yeah, this sweater, for example, this red sweater pattern is lovely, but it only comes in 3 sizes. So I wouldn't say they're particularly size inclusive in this book, but hopefully I'd be able to find a size that would work for me. But there's some pretty awesome patterns in here, and even if I don't end up making one of the patterns in particular, there might be sections that I can use if I want to implement it into a pattern. So the back has a big section on a variety of different cables and how to do them as well as their charts. So if I wanted to knit a jumper and just implement a cable somewhere, I could do that as well. So I think this will be an awesome book. I am intrigued to make one of the patterns, but I'll let you know as I go. But this is my second book. And then the final book I got from my uncle, and again, it's a book I'd never heard of, but it's called A Knitter's Year. And it's a book that's got a variety of patterns it's got 30 gorgeous knitting patterns for you and your family for every season. So the book is sectioned into spring, summer, autumn and winter, and it's got patterns for each season in it. And well, firstly, the one on the front cover, this vest, I think is stunning, and I would love to try and knit a vest this year. I do have one vest pattern in my library on Ravelry, but I've never cast it on yet, even though I had it all summer last year, so maybe I will try one of these. But there was so many patterns in this that I looked at them and I thought I would love to give that a go. So I definitely think there'll be some patterns to show you. Bear with me while I flick through. So there's like a skirt in here, there is a zipper sweater in here, there's headbands in here. Let me find the one I was trying to... There's a brioche cardigan. This sweater, which I think is an awesomely cool design, it's called the Amelie sweater. And it's got the little, like the sides are disattached other than a small like little bit of fabric that goes across, and I think that that's awesome, because I often get too hot in the summer, or in the spring, sorry, when I'm walking. Like I'm cold when I'm there or when I'm standing still, but when I'm walking I'm really warm, and I think that that would be such an interesting pattern to give a go. And again, I could just sit here and show you every single thing in here, but there is so many things. Dresses, vest patterns, so much. So I can definitely see myself knitting some stuff from this book this year, and I think it's gorgeous, and it's not one that I'd heard of. So if you're interested in knitting books, A Knitter's Year would be an interesting one, I think, for you to have. And that is me. So I said this wasn't going to be a long episode, and it'll probably end up being about an hour again, but I hope you enjoyed spending some time with me. I guess coming up for me, I'm trying to finish these whips. As I've said, I want to get my 2 zipper sweaters off the needles, I want to finish my jumpsuit, but knitting wise, the next few projects, I am absolutely gagging to cast on a Daft Days cardigan by Rebecca Clow, with my advent from last year, which is the Nervous Fibres Sadvent that I opened last January. I actually started, while I was waiting for the results of that poll to come in, I started winding up the mini skeins of that yarn to cast on my Daft Days, and then everyone came back and said, finish your whips, Jo, so I put that to the side. So I want to cast on my Daft Days cardigan and get that done. My Patisserie advent calendar, I'm quite keen to do a Stella quilt cushion with. I was interested in doing a sweet shop blanket, but I don't know, something about that is not pulling my attention right now, whereas the Stella quilt cushion is, so I think I'm going to use my minis to make a Stella quilt cushion. But I am thinking that I'll maybe make 2 of the stars and then put fabric backs on them, because what's not appealing to me right now is the thought of having to knit like the massive garter back on it. So I think I might just make the front panels and then sew on like a piece of fabric at the back, because then I could also insert a zipper, so I could take the stuffing inside, the pillow insert in and out of it when I wanted to. So I think that's on the agenda moving forward. But there's also like loads of other things. I bought quite a lot of quantities of yarn at the Scottish Yarn Festival this year for a porcelain sweater, an Elizabeth blouse, and all those things are still currently sitting in the bag that I got them in, waiting for me to have time to cast them on. I've got loads of yarn to make Tolsta tees that I really want to get started on again. So I think I've been really good this year so far. I've not bought any yarn. I have signed up for one subscription box monthly yarn club thing, and I can't remember who it's by. I want to say Wildflower Yarn, but that might be completely wrong. But it was like a mythical creatures box, and that's something that I would really enjoy. And the first one was a siren, so I signed up for that subscription, but I will talk more about that when I've actually received my first yarn. But other than that, I've managed to avoid buying any yarn. I looked at a lot of sales, but decided I didn't need anything. I think December, because in December I had my Patisserie advent calendar, my a homespun house advent, like the 4 weekly advent, and then I did my 2 swaps with people, I felt like I was receiving so much yarn. And when I came upstairs at the end of December and put it all in my craft room, I realised just how much yarn I have. And I think I've got so many projects here, or quantities here to make projects, that I've kind of exhausted myself in terms of buying things, and I just want to work through what I've got. There's a couple of whips. I've got the Petite Knit hazel neck sitting in a whip bag from not last year but the year before, I think. I have I want to say vest number 18 from My Favourite Things Knitwear sitting with just the back panel done, and nothing else that I really want to pick up and get going. So yeah, I've got lots of projects sitting in the whip stage, or long-term whips. I've got quite a few sweaters quantities I've bought this year that I haven't managed to get to. I've got some patterns on the to make list that I haven't managed to get to. So I'm kind of hoping to work through some of that stash and previous goals before I make loads of new ones, essentially, is the plan. I've got the porcelain sweater I would love to do. I've got a couple of other, the Elizabeth blouse. I've got things like that that I would love to try that I've not managed to get on the needles yet. So I'm hoping that my year will be fulfilling some of those, which I'm really looking forward to. The only new thing that's really taking an interest recently has been a shawl. I don't know why. I think I've seen loads of people doing them and wearing them, and as someone who constantly likes to be in a blanket or a dressing gown or something, I think maybe there'll be an element of a shawl that'll fulfill that for me while looking a little bit more classy than wearing my hoodie. So watch this space. There might be a shawl coming in the near future in the whip pile. And I guess then that leaves me just to sign off with you guys. Firstly, I want to say I hope you have had a great start to 2024. And if you haven't, I'm sending you love and grace. My 2024 started off with an anxiety-related cry in my living room to my boyfriend before a family gathering. So I can totally relate that 2024 might not have started off as you planned. I just want to share a little bit of something that helped my brain. Just because we're in a new year doesn't mean that you need to be a new you or a restart, or it needs to be fresh and exciting. At the end of the day, the end of December and the beginning of January just follow on from each other. Each day is a new fresh day. A bad morning doesn't make a bad year, a bad day doesn't make a bad year, a bad week doesn't make a bad year. So I hope that you can find some peace and some love in that statement and that thought. I hope that you are having a successful crafty time. I hope you are enjoying everything that you're working on, making some good progress, finding some nice time to spend with yourself, getting some of your crafts done. As I am so far, really prioritising that, really prioritising having a routine that allows me to get the stuff done that I love to do each day. So I hope that will continue for me, and I extend that to you. I would love to hear from you guys. I'd love to hear what you were working on while watching today's video in the comments. I'm always looking to make new crafty friends, so if you want to reach out to me on Instagram, my handle is just the same as it is on YouTube, @designs.madebyjo. Please feel free to reach out. I'm always looking to make new crafty friends. My Ravelry handle I can never remember, so I'll leave it in the description box, and if you're ever looking for details on a project that I maybe haven't mentioned, then please have a look at Ravelry. If not, just drop me a comment or a message and I will help you out as and when I can. But yeah, happy 2024, happy episode 7. I look forward to seeing you guys for episode 8, and once again, thank you for being with me.